What's up guys, and welcome back to a brand new video of my F1 2017 career mode, and we are here for round number 14 of season 3 for the Singapore Grand Prix. A very wet Singapore Grand Prix, may I add, with overcast skies and a little bit of daytime still remaining in this practice session. But as you can see, we're currently in a track where, based off the last race in Monza, a track, high speed, suited our car. It's a track where obviously if we're going to perform around here, we need to have a good setup on the car, and that's exactly what we're doing here, just showing you a little bit of the setup I'm running for this track. Nothing spectacular. The real focus is on the 1111 aero, in my opinion, around this circuit. So we've got that hooked up, and we're just trying to make our way through the wet practice session. But for this race, no upgrades. Obviously, we are working on other things, especially planning towards, pushing towards the end later on in the season. But I do feel confident with the car. The car does feel very good, and I'm hoping for very, very exciting things in the next coming races. I think we can squeeze in one or two more upgrades and really make a push for that World Drivers' Championship. But right now, we are coming to this race with a lead, and hopefully we can make it work. As you can see there, the fuel test, I was trying to be a little bit cheeky there, as I was trying to slow down across the line to try and actually get the target and get the purple score, but I was just a little bit too far in the green section of the fuel mixture that I used too much. But other than that, the qualifying test went really well, and so did the race strategy test, getting a purple score on that. So overall, pretty positive practice session, going fastest, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So very encouraging signs going to Saturday qualifying, which was meant to be mixed conditions with obviously chance of rain, and also the race is meant to be full wet conditions, so we've got to keep an eye on that. But heavy rain scheduled for the race. That's why I've gone for 1111 aero, because I just want to have the maximum possible downfalls, and that way be in the best position for the race tomorrow. But as you can see, we're in Q1 now, intermediate conditions. I left it right until the end of the session because this is when the track was at its driest point, as we have to negotiate a slow moving Haas car through the final corner there. But we come across the line in Q1, and the lap was surprising. We got 8th place, which was okay, but the car felt not great to drive. Like, it felt pretty damn understeer. We do go through in P8 behind my teammate Esteban Ocon there, and we then move into Q2. And once again, it was wet at the start of Q2, so I left it right until the death to go out on ultra soft compound tyres. And we do put a lap in at the end of the session, which is good enough to get us P3 behind my teammate Esteban Ocon here. And eventually, once the session ended, we would go through in P7 once again. But I still wasn't convinced with the car, because in practice we was fast, and I seem to have lost pace in qualifying, and this confirmed it to me. For some reason, my setup had glitched to a low downfall setup. It's gone from 1111 aero to 2.2 wings, and I was really, really baffled by this. I don't know how this happened, because I never loaded any sort of setup. So I'm at a massive disadvantage here for qualifying. And coming to Q3 now, I want to try and get pole, but that's to set me back. As you can see, I make a mistake into the penultimate corner. So already struggling with the setup issues, which is not ideal. But we're going to ride on board now for my best lap in Q3 and see what we can pull out the bag with 2.2 aero on the car. I did move the front wing to 3, so that's the best we can do at the moment. So let's see if we can try and pull a lap out the bag here. So far, very tidy through 1, 2, 3, keeping the car within the track limits, and just trying to find the maximum time possible. A little bit more extra lock on the steering wheel to try and get the nose into the corners. And so far, so good. Pretty much a 10th up on our personal previous attempt, which obviously it did end in a spin, but I completed the lap time anyway, just to have a reference point. As you can see, we're fastest in the first sector, as you would expect, because of the ridiculous drain on speed that we have because of the low wings. But now going into this particular sector here is where it's going to get really, really challenging for us. All these tight, twisty 90-degree corners, getting really, really, got to get the car hooked up and get it all sorted out into every single corner. So far, it's going pretty well for us, and we're getting all the apexes pretty much nailed down. It's just a question of, are we carrying enough speed through these corners? So we now go through the Anderson Bridge into this very tricky hairpin here. I lock up horribly down to first gear even, but even though I missed my apex really badly, I do get better exit speed because of it, and I'm still a 10th up on my previous best attempt. Now a couple of tenths down in the middle sector, but still not a bad lap considering the setup glitch that we have. But as you can see, now into the final sector, another series of 90-degree corners here. Very tricky final sector, and one mistake can set you off on a really bad line, and doing a really good job of keeping the car in the right direction, just keeping it pointing forward and attacking the circuit whilst trying to do the best with the low downforce. And so far it's going very well for us. Now we've got to tackle the place where we made a mistake on our first run. This time no major issues there, as close as possible to the wall. One more corner to go now, the final corner, attacking the inside curb here, and now running up to the line, DRS wide open, and the question is, where's the lap going to put us? And it's going to be good enough for P3. Oh wow, that's a really, really good attempt there. So we've pulled one out the bag there against all odds in Q3, and definitely one that I did not expect. But even with the low aero, we managed to pull an incredible lap out the bag there behind both of the Ferraris and Ocon in P6. So A very good lap there. I'm very, very happy with that one. And I did not expect that after seeing the 2-2 wings. So, very, very good lap there. And that's actually going to be quite encouraging for the race tomorrow. Even though there is rain expected with 2-2 wings, it's going to be a challenge. But I'm looking forward to it. So, let's jump straight into the race for Singapore. Right, so here we are then for race day at Singapore. The longest race on the calendar. And to add to my misery, basically, we're going to be doing it in the intermediate conditions. It's not the first time we've had to do this race in the pouring wet, and it's not just going to be pouring wet for a little stint of time. It's going to be wet for the entire race. So we've got our work cut out, and I'm looking forward to it. But at the same time, I'm absolutely just bricking it because it's going to be a long, long race. But in terms of obviously the grid formation, after a very solid qualifying session, we actually got a P3 in the end, so not too bad considering the setup deficiencies that we have, and we still have that on the car. So it's going to be an even bigger struggle with these wet conditions. But I'm confident that we can pull through and that we can get something out of this race. But in terms of the race strategy, you can see there's going to be full wet the entire race. Currently enters possibility of maybe going over onto full wet tyres. Meanwhile, I've underfueled the car, as obviously in wet conditions it doesn't tend to be that much fuel consumption. But in terms of the car setup, we're going to go through it here. As you can see, 3-2 aero. I mean, I don't know what's happened here with this setup. I've tweaked what I can and I've changed what I can, but I mean, wow, it's not good. I'm just going to tweak the brake bars there because I want a little bit more to the rear in the wet conditions. But yeah, setup isn't great. Mainly the aero part, which is very, very tailored towards maybe something like Monza or a Spa. But nonetheless, we're going to try and have a good race with it anyway. And like I said, we're starting P3, so we can just do some damage limitation, and I'll be very happy with that. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the race. Right, here we go then. On the grid, 5 red lights for the Singapore Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go. Let's try and have a good start here. Very good launch, actually, and reacting to the lights quite nicely here. We're going to pull up to the left-hand side. We've got Mercedes of Bottas making a move. Hamilton is way down the order in like P15 or something, as I've run wide there at turn 1, just understeering off the circuit. The low wings, I can already notice them quite badly, actually, and the severe amount of understeer that I have and lack of downforce is very apparent. It's absolutely chucking it down here. I don't know why everyone's on inters. I'm already looking at the possibility of full wets, but for now, it's a good start to the race, and we're currently in P3. And look at this, the straight line speed we have. We're gaining on Vettel. Vettel's going defensive slightly into this next corner here. We're going to have a look around the outside. Can we pull it off? I'm having to go off the track here, which isn't ideal, but we're still there. We're still holding it. Seb's still on my outside. Can we got the inside of this right-hander very, very tight through there? We're going to squirt the power on, and we've made the move on Sebastian, so very nice move on the German, and Raikkonen leads the way. So far, I'd be very happy with the race finish like this, because obviously we'd be limiting our damage to Kimi Raikkonen, but I'm confident that we can maybe still do something this race and maybe have a go at Kimi if his pace isn't too ridiculous. Right, fast lap of the Grand Prix, half a second faster than Kimi Raikkonen on that last lap, so we've got the pace here, which is surprising, but at the same time it isn't, because in the wet conditions we've always had good pace. It's just the fact I'm suffering with a lot more understeer, and I've had a terrible turns 1, 2, 3 there as I do that fast up in the process, so that's going to basically ruin anything I just gained on Raikkonen there. Right, inside the 2-minute mark, and finding a little bit more pace now, and I'm slowly catching Raikkonen here. I'm starting to understand the car with this low aero and starting to realise how this works and how I've got to drive this car. But it's probably a problem for Raikkonen as I'm starting to pick up the pace here. It's looking like intermediates all race, and I'm thinking about the full wets because it's just so wet, but the team seems to be okay with me running on inters, and everyone else seems to be doing the same thing, so we're just going to stick with it. But so far, the pace is looking good, and we are slowly catching Kimi Raikkonen. Another fastest lap, 159.5, and it's another couple of attempts I've put into Kimi Raikkonen, but Raikkonen's pace is so consistent, it's going to be very hard to really get close to him. But I'm slowly getting there, but it's taken a long, long time. But I'm sure if we keep it going this way, it will happen. So it's just a question of patience, but we are catching Raikkonen. Oh, Vettel's out of the race. Vettel just retired, yellow flag, and we got a VSC from that. So Sebastian out of the Singapore Grand Prix. So that's one of the Ferraris down and out, and the question is, will the other one be down and out? So far, it's looking like it's going to be a tough challenge, but Vettel out of the race, and now only Raikkonen remains to Scuderia Ferrari. So let's try and get past Kimi here and put a dent into Ferrari's constructors' points, hopefully, if we're lucky. Ocon, I know, is still running in a good position, I think, like P6, so probably P5 now, thanks to Vettel's retirement. So hopefully we can put some points into Ferrari's lead, but let's wait for the safety car, the VSC restart, should we say, and try and keep on catching Raikkonen. Visibility is really, really poor, but I do feel like after that VSC, I've found a couple more tenths, to be honest. It's almost given the car like a chance to cool down and regroup, and I'm now in a much better just place in terms of feeling the car, feeding the pace, and we are all over the back of Kimi Räikkönen here as we go for the final corner. It's probably going to be another fast lap of the Grand Prix here, and we've definitely got the pace now to try and overtake Kimi. We just missed out on a fast lap after that little mistake at the final corner, but Räikkönen is definitely within reach, and I could be passing him very soon here. Alright, here we go into turn, I think this is turn 4, onto the back straight. Good exit actually, a little bit of a tank slapper, but still a good exit nonetheless. We have that very low air which is going to help us out in the straight line speed. So here we go. Can we go for a move on Räikkönen? He's going to go defensive slightly. I'm still going to commit to the move though. Very, very close side by side action here. This time I've got the inside line. Can we squeeze Räikkönen into the next corner? I'm going to try and take a very shallow line. I've gone a little bit hot though. I'm going to almost use my front wing, and Räikkönen is just going to hold it. He's still there on my right hand side. He's going to blink this next corner. Very, very tight. Räikkönen goes around the outside. He's made it work. We're still side by side in these conditions as we now go into the tricky, I think it's turn 10 or turn 9. Oh, the inside, very close. Räikkönen still on my outside as we go into the Anderson Bridge section. I've switched back underneath Räikkönen around the outside. Can we go for it? Yes, we can. And can we get the move done into the hairpin? Yes, we do. Wow, what a sequence that was. And what a move on Kimi Räikkönen. Absolutely incredible. What an overtake and what a battle. And that is why the championship is on the line, ladies and gentlemen, because that sums up Kimi Räikkönen, who's won the championship in the last 2 seasons and is currently in the fight with me to win this year's championship. And oh my days, that was absolutely incredible. Impeccable driving with, I believe, 0 contact. So that just sums up how good that was. That was absolutely fantastic. Another virtual safety car. Danny Kvyat out of the race. Bit of a shame because I was starting to get into my rhythm there. I was in some purple sectors and my pace was really good, but instead we're going to have to back off here and slow off for the second VSC of the race. This race is definitely going to go over the equivalent of what would be the 2 hour mark. This is going to be the 1 hour mark if it's 50% races, but it's definitely going to go over the inverted commas time limit. Obviously that's not implemented into the game, but this race is going to be well over an hour long, so this is going to be a long one. Ooh, fastest lap, so still got some pace in the car. 2.3 ahead of Kimi now, so we're starting to fly around here. I'm pitting this up anyway for a fresh set of inters, so we're going to be going even faster than this very soon. Track conditions not improving, but they're not getting any worse, so it's sort of staying as it is. So I'm getting to know this car better and better with the lower aero, and it's becoming quite simple to actually keep under control and manage, basically, and I'm actually quite okay with keeping Räikkönen behind me. So yeah, so far looking very good, but we're now going to have to basically prepare for a pit stop at the end of this lap. I'm coming on for another fast lap here, about 2.5 tenths up, but we're going to come in for our first stop of the race here. Make sure we get this all slowed down for the pit entry. 60 kilometers in this one. There we go. Nice solid entry. Räikkönen stays out for another lap. Meanwhile, we're coming in. The question is who else is going to join us. It looks like Bottas isn't going to join us in the pit lane either, so some of the AI cars staying out for another lap. Meanwhile, we're in for a fresh inters. Not a good stop, 2.8, nothing spectacular, but luckily we've got a nice comfortable gap over Kimi Räikkönen. So now it's a question of getting back onto the racetrack and just switching on these tyres and once again getting back in the rhythm, back in the groove, and try and see if we can set some pretty good blistering lap times to try and solidify our first place. But here we go, just going to tackle the pit exit, which is very tricky in these conditions, and especially this year with these wider cars. But there we go, we've done a good job of it, and we can now get on our way on these tyres and try and solidify first place. I can already notice the difference on fresh tyres as I'm absolutely flying around the circuit, purple second and third sector, and we're going to comfortably retake first place ahead of Kimi Räikkönen. We've got Max Verstappen, sorry no, we've got I think that's a lap car, I think that's a Renault in front. Looked like a Red Bull for briefly for a second there, but it's actually the Renault Julian Palmer, a lap car in front of us. But we're now back in first place, semi-clean air, and we can now push on and get on our way and try and bring this car home in first place. And I'm not expecting there to be any major dramas, so it should be a fairly simple one to bring onto the flag unless something goes horribly wrong. Right, into 1 minute 58, 58.6, incredible lap time, and really stepping up a level here in this second stint. And Räikkönen now 3.7, struggling to keep up. My pace is very good at the moment. Oh wow, Esteban is out of the race, damn it. The one time we could have gained some points at Ferrari, and then my teammates got knocked out of the race as well. That's his third or fourth retirement now this season, so that's very unfortunate for him, and that's going to reduce the amount of points that we get to construct and probably demote him a few places in the Drivers' Championship, which is very unfortunate after the run of races he's been on, which has been very good form. It's now come to a sudden end. Meanwhile, I'm still getting the hammer down. 58.2 lap times, absolutely incredible at the moment. Car is switched on even with this low aero. Another fastest lap. I'm going to use Rich Mix now for a couple of laps, try and dip into the 1 minute 57s. I'm basically doing a Verstappen at Mexico at this point, just trying to have some fun. Right, there we go, into the 1 minute 57s. Pace very good at the moment, and so consistent, having a load of fun. And yeah, just trying to get to the finish line basically as fast as I can. That's my idea behind it, because this race is dragging on so much for me. Like, I hate the wet races at Singapore, especially when it's wet the entire way through. It just gets so long and boring. So I really want to try and finish this race now and pick up the 25 points and move on to the next one in Japan. Or sorry, no, the next one in Malaysia actually. Another fast lap, 57.6, pretty much a 57.7 dead, but flying around this circuit still, and my pace is really, really good. Just pushing the track to the limit. 6.3 to KIMI Raikkonen now, and I think we pretty much got this wrapped up unless something absolutely unexpected happens. But right now, the car feels fantastic, and I think we deserve the race win if this is how the race ends. Right, here we go then, through the final few corners for the final time after a very long race. And I've got to say, even though the setup was against us, luckily the wet conditions and the street circuit suit me. But here we go, through the final corner to win the Singapore Grand Prix. And look at that, all the fireworks, absolutely spectacular. We take 25 points. Raikkonen manages P2, so we get another 7 points on the Iceman. And what a race that was. And a really, really long, exhausting one. And I really hope next time we come here there's no rain, because I'm getting a bit sick of the rain now at Singapore, which is making my race very, very long. But as you can see, we win at Singapore, top step of the podium for the second race running and back to winning ways. And I gotta say, you know, I did say after the last race we were good at power circuits. The question was, are we good around street circuits and circuits with a few more corners and less engine dependent? And I think this proves it, at least around Singapore anyway. The next one, Malaysia, I think will be a little bit more interesting. But anyway, that was Singapore. We're now going to move into the race results. Right, looking at the final race results after that race, you can see that I win the Singapore Grand Prix ahead of KIMI Raikkonen and Valtteri Bottas. Romain Grosjean gets an incredible 4th place somehow, even though his lap time is like 2 to 3 seconds slower than anybody else. He's managed to bag himself a 4th place out of nowhere. He must have just done some worldly strategy or held up a massive train of cars. I mean, the only car I can see there stuck behind him is Verstappen, so fair play to him. Bit of just pull one out of the bag really, but as you can see, Hamilton there managed to bag himself a P10 from P14 on the grid, and Alonso scores points from McLaren Honda. But the big story here is that we scroll down, obviously Sebastian Vettel and Esteban Ocon, Kevin Magnussen and Daniel Kvyat all retirements in this race. My team unfortunately retiring from a good point scoring position, as did Sebastian Vettel. But in terms of the driver standings, you can see we are now 23 points clear of KIMI Raikkonen, 81 points clear of Vettel, and 96 of Lewis Hamilton. I think after that race, Vettel and Hamilton could well be out of the running for the Drivers' Championship, and it may just go down to a 2-horse race between myself and KIMI Raikkonen. Also, Ocon there switching places with Max Verstappen for P6 in the Championship. In terms of the Constructors though, forcing there now 54 points behind Ferrari, gaining ground slowly but surely on the prancing horses, and Mercedes not really doing any sort of inroads on the Pink Panthers after that race. But overall, that was Singapore. We're now going to move into the laptop. Right, so after that race, we have lost our rivalry with KIMI Raikkonen, which is not a major concern because the real rivalry is what the Drivers' Championship is all about. But after that race, we are going to purchase an upgrade, and we've got one coming for the next race anyway, so we're just going to add one more to that. Now, I've got a selection of choices here, and I was thinking about various options, and obviously, I'm thinking long run here, but I was going to go for the gearbox durability purely because it's an upgrade that we need to make, because I want to try and have basically no more gearbox penalties. However, I do want to try and improve the performance and also the tyre wear. I've noticed tyre wear is a little bit bad in the last few races, so we are going to go for the tyre wear one here, and that should arrive for the next race in Malaysia. And then after that, we will purchase a gearbox upgrade if we need to. If not, then we just focus entirely on performance. But we're going to get this upgrade here, and that should arrive for the next race in Malaysia. And with that, we should take a nice little jump forward, and should be very close to Red Bull and Mercedes after that race. And we should be almost neck and neck with Red Bull, to be fair. So that'd be a big step forward for the next race, big double upgrade. But other than that, guys, that's been this episode of Career Mode. If you have enjoyed it, then please do slap a like on the video. Also, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and do check out these videos on screen right now if you have missed any of them. And also check out GT Mega and the links down below in the description, and use the code TOM7 for a 5% discount at checkout. But other than that, guys, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you in my next video very soon. Goodbye.